the fence still there. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever let yourself
I'm trying to get more stuff that was on here. I did the right thing on survey because I have a computer date. And thought, let's get this out of notified out that Steinmetz is 2 feet from my actual property. On his property. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have
Well, we're not quite there yet, but
That is, yeah.
okay, it's 5:30. I'm going to call City Development and Planning. To order, and I understand that the item listed is for executive session, so do we want to recess and put it at the end of the meeting with claims? So then I will ask for a motion to recess. I will second. All those in favor? Aye. And then I will call government operations into order, and I understand that that also is an executive session. So I will, I guess, ask to recess once again.
Madam President, what is the intermunicipal agreements with banks are they?
I don't have to take questions from the audience at this point for executive session, so.
But it's still part of the open public meeting law. You still have to describe what the municipal agreements are.
I believe it's a negotiation that might not even exist yet, which is why it's an executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to recess government operations.
I'll recess it.
Excellent. I'll second. All those in favor?
Am I on the committee? Are you on the committee?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Call to order Health and Recreation. Okay, a couple things on the agenda, but I'm going to ask just to switch the order just so Camille's here and may want to ask her some questions and allow her to leave after that. So we'd like to talk about the Steinmetz Park fees. It's in your package already. As you know, Steinmetz, they did a lot of renovations in Steinmetz Park, and so at this point, what they'd like to do is to start charging some fees for use of the park. People have been inquiring. So the group has put together some proposed fees for use of the pavilion, use of the building, and allowing meetings in there. It's in your package on page 8. So this is before the council to discuss those fees. I'm not sure if we need to take this to a public hearing or not.
There it is. It's on the back side.
To change anything in the city code, it would be part of public hearing.
Okay. So you have it before you. It's
Page 8, John.
July, and so we're going to have to have a public hearing on it. But these are the fees, so if we could discuss that tonight. Camille, if you could just come up and talk about how you came up with the fee schedule.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
We're good.
I didn't have my spinach yet.
Like everything but the t-shirt.
Thanks, Vince. Actually, the way we came up with the fees, or, our suggestions for the fees was back in January when we met, a group of us said, well, I'll take this park, you take that park, and it included the Colony Crossings and Central Park and several other parks. And it was just to get a feel on what their rates were so that we were marketable. We would still be marketable and self-sustaining in our goal to remain self-sustaining so that we wouldn't be a burden to the city. So that's how we came up with the figures basically. And we had a good cross-section of people that we questioned about, the fees, like the 4-hour fees. We based it basically everything on like a 4-hour block of time. And the cross-section was very much in agreement that what we set forward was affordable, like for reunions or showers or whatever use the pavilion or the bathhouse may have.
Ms. Barrazo?
Couple questions. Can you explain to me, the first one is, can you explain to me the outside porta lavatory use versus, like, what would the situation be where somebody would choose not to use the inside bathroom?
Well, the affordability, not using, they would use the porta potty.
Oh, add $50.
Yes.
I thought it was 50 to use inside, 75 to use outside. Gotcha.
Right, no.
So it's 125.
And it's all about the cleaning.
Sure.
That's going to be required after.
Yep,
and
I
the
read
maintenance.
My other question is there a provision for more than 4 hours? So, like, say I want to have a wedding and I really, the DJs for 5 hours, whatever the case may be, is there a provision for that?
This was just a rough proposal, and, basically it's going to end up in the council's or in the committee's hands to determine, because there are, several questions to go beyond the 4 hours, nonprofit organizations, all of that stuff. This is just a very rough thumbnail.
Mr. Polster?
Yes, thank you. And again, the community's done some great work over there. I visited the park several times, and the activity with the kids and the park itself is just wonderful. Do we know, what are we charging for the pavilion, for a quarter of the pavilion?
$50.
It's 50. It's 50. So is this size comparable to that quarter of a pavilion at Central Park, we thinking, or?
Actually, I asked the same question. I asked that of Mr. Howard. It's comparable. The size of the pavilion there is comparable to about a quarter of the pavilion in Central Park.
Yeah, and that's why I just thought maybe we'd kick it down to 50. And then the other question, are we going to put this in a separate fund for the Steinmetz Park, let's say for renovations, kind of like you folks have done with the Rose Garden? Or maybe I'm wrong, because I think you did. I wasn't on the council about that. But is that something for us to consider as well? Whatever fees are collected, we can put that in an account earmarked to the Steinmetz Park?
The request of the organization that's been working on this is that we create a trust and agency account similar to what's been done with the Rose Garden and with the dog park, so that they have, not control, but they have control, what happens to the money, although not access to it unless it's through the city, because it is a city park.
Right. And we did talk about signage. I was just at the Colony Crossings this weekend, doing some letterboxing, which was kind of neat out there. Absolutely gorgeous park. And same thing, they had a pavilion crowd. I never did check to see what their prices were, but they clearly had signage up there too, to reserve the pavilion, contact the Parks Department or call the phone number, and that is exactly what we were thinking to do at Steinmetz as well with the pavilion.
We're just awaiting the approval. I mean, we have 4 inquiries thus far about the rentals, and the closest one I believe is like August 24th. So it's kind of like chomping at the bit, and
Camille, are you asking so that the rents would be the same way as like any other park that through the city, they would make the phone calls and do the rental through the city?
What Councilman Kosher showed me was, and I do have a picture of that at home, because I did go out to the crossings to see that, and when we were talking back in January about the various possibilities in signage, rather than spending money on signage and really not knowing what the direction was going to be, and just having rock solid numbers, we were awaiting. So at Colony, they have, for rental of the pavilion, call. And I mean, it's a perfect sign, but I mean, even spending the money on the sign with wrong phone numbers at this particular point in time is not good judgment as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, yes.
But my question is, do you still would want it to go through the city though? You're not, or is that your group want to do the?
Oh, no, absolutely, no, it's ultimately, it's a city. We will do everything that we possibly can as the Goose Hill Neighborhood Steinmetz Association to maintain its self-sufficiency, because we understand how the city is cash-strapped, and perhaps down the road, they won't be cash-strapped, and we may end up being able to get, supplies for the interior of the building without worrying about having a shower for the bathhouse to supply it, which is basically, the point that we're at right now.
In terms of the maintenance, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
In terms of the maintenance, after an event, how is that, would that be what some of these fees would cover?
It's inclusive, yes.
Okay, that includes.
And it's, I think that we made it clear in for the maintenance and the setup, like for meetings and the additional charge for the bathrooms particularly, because that can be problematic, as well as the use of the kitchen.
Right.
But
The fees were built in.
fees are built in?
Yes.
And are you asking the city to come in and do to open the buildings, to close the buildings, to maintenance? Are you asking that of the city, or is that something?
No,
that the Goose Hill
it's totally independent of the city.
Okay.
That aspect of it.
Okay.
At least, I'm hoping at least until October, when we run out of money. No, seriously.
Come on.
No, I mean,
Part of that position of the $4,000 that we approved through CDBG.
Precisely, yes.
That's the additional $4,000 that we awarded to the park was to cover
But
the
in
staff and
addition
some
to
other
that,
things,
there's
The
still
cell phone and all that stuff
materials
again.
and, yes.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Boucher?
thank you again. And just to talk with Luis DeFabio, as far as collecting the money, I think that's something we have to talk about. How is, if I'm calling the number or I'm seeing the park attendant, am I writing a check? Are they taking my debit card? Am I paying cash? And how is that going to be received by the park or to get it to the city?
Currently, through Central Park, it's done through the park. So
They have the administrative officer,
Right.
correct?
Right. So we'd have to figure out whether they come down here and do it, or whether they have to go to Central Park, which is, I think, they collect for all parks at Central Park. They would need to go there.
Is that something?
That was one of the problematic.
That's something we've to discuss about, yeah.
Precisely.
That's, I
yes.
think, we're looking
No,
to
we
do.
didn't discuss that.
And that would make more sense, because that's where we could put that phone number on the sign too. I'm thinking, instead of putting the cell phone number of the gentleman that's working the park now, I think we have the administrative number on it to contact there and just do everything at that office. I think makes more sense, right? This way we have a central location with the cash or checks or debit card or whatever we're accepting. And then we have the master schedule there as well, so we don't have duplicate schedules all over the place. Steinmetz with one schedule and the city with another schedule.
That makes sense.
Because that could be a problem as well. So.
There was a situation with the master schedule, as I understand, and that was, it was going to be and then it wasn't going to be. And as far as, if we could keep a schedule of Steinmetz Park, right in Steinmetz Park, that would be the ideal.
Yes.
And rather than having somebody call a particular number and say, I'll get back to you, and then you don't hear from that person, that too is frustrating. So, I mean, if it means, changing that, my only suggestion is if it means changing that number, in addition to the optional number of the city, it might be more cost-effective doing that instead of turning people away.
Right, or not getting a call, like you said, too.
Ms. Braza?
I just think we have a system in place for reserving pavilions in the parks, and we should keep that system. That way, if neighborhood leaders change or, whatever the case may be, it keeps everything consistent. And then if there's a problem, and you have people reporting to you that they're trying to reserve the pavilion and can't get any response, you need to make us aware of that, or the mayor aware of that right away, so that we can fix it that way. But I think consistency for, first of all, flow of money, also just administrative oversight and all of that just makes more sense not to reinvent the wheel.
I agree with that, and so we should figure out some way that once it's reserved, that somehow at the office in Central Park, they immediately get in touch with whoever you designate at your, at the Goose
Great
Lake
point.
organization,
No, it's
so that
perfect.
they know and then put it
Yeah.
right on their calendar.
No,
Keep
it's
it that way.
perfect. Yeah,
So it makes it easier.
absolutely. And then there's the checks and balances too.
Right.
Yeah. And again, that's exactly the Central Park Pavilion, we have a store program there, and every Monday, there's a sheet printed out with everything that's happening for that entire week at Central Park and at the Pavilion. So not only do we know, but the custodian, the staff that's working there throughout the week knows exactly, when they have to pick up, when to refill garbage cans and liners and so on and so forth. So that could certainly be done as well, I think, just give them an updated schedule every week. Everything is easy to do, so, very good.
All right, looking at the fees, unless there's any more questions at this point, looking at the fees, what do you think of the, in terms, I know Mr. Kozier thought that maybe 75, maybe we should consider 50, what was that?
I was thinking 50.
50, for
For the
4
outdoor,
hours.
the outdoor laboratory use.
At least to get it started, I mean, it's new, it's a new facility, let's get folks utilizing the park. I think that's the most important thing. And to be consistent with it too. I mean, it's 50 at the Pavilion.
I see.
So we're talking about 50 for the outside laboratory, 50 for the indoor bathroom.
I don't know, I'm just kicking it out.
I'm almost understanding to mean 50 because a quad at the Central Park is 50.
Right.
If this is similar to the size of a quad.
Should be the same
50.
price.
Right, and when you rent the quad at the at Central Park, you get the bathroom.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Russell?
But Goose Hill's not going to rely on the city to clean the bathrooms, correct?
Absolutely.
So then it's a different animal,
Well, right now, the city is paying,
Right.
up through October, the city is covering the
Reimbursing
costs.
through CDBG.
No, that was for security also, though, of the
Doesn't make
pavilion,
sense.
not just for cleaning. That was for security, neighborhood control of the pavilion and all, am I correct?
It was, that was pretty much all-inclusive, as far as I'm understanding. It included additional supplies that we may need,
Yeah.
and the cost of somebody to come in and clean it, at least weekly, in addition to the manager.
And how have people been reacting? Have you floated out any proposed rates to people when they show interest?
When we were talking about these rates, we all came pretty much knowing like what the various groups would go for.
Yeah.
And the groups, the group that I went back to, they said, no, it's 75. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's very affordable. So, I mean, in your, it's all up to you. I'm looking down, I'm leaning more toward the 75 only because of the self-sustainability, and I don't think that it's going to deter anyone personally, the 75 for the use of the pavilion for the 4 hours. And if there is a hardship, I'm sure there are circumstances and they can be worked with. And I don't even know, the other thing to take into consideration also, and this is for you people to figure out, is that if a nonprofit wants to rent it, is there a different fee schedule? Or if somebody from out of the city wants to rent it, is there a different fee schedule?
I think $50 for the use of the bathrooms and the pavilion and all of that is just a little low. I think, 200 is a lot. So, but I think, given that it's a very different structure than Central Park, and Central Park's bathrooms are maintained in a different way, I just think maybe meeting halfway and doing, pavilion and bathrooms and all that for 100 would be,
Rather than the 125, is it?
would be a little more fair than the 50. The 50 I just think is really, really low, and you're trying to maintain maintain something that's very new and very beautiful and
So you're suggesting 75 for the out, and then for the outside bathrooms in 4 hours, and if you want to add inside, add another 25 to that?
I'm talking about the pavilion use with the kitchen and the bathrooms and everything, which is, I thought, what was being proposed as $50.
No, it's,
Okay, what was,
That is 200.
so we're keeping that at 200. I
Well,
thought you were
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
let's change it to 50.
no,
No.
no, no, the top where you sit.
The discussion about changing 50 is the 75 for the big with the outside lavatory. That's currently 75.
Yeah. So can I just interject, Madam Chair, real quick? What about a city resident rate and a non-city resident rate, like we do with the tennis licenses, the tennis permits? Let's give our city residents a lower rate than, now I don't want to pick on this Kiona, but let's just say we have outsiders coming in. Let's give our city residents some sort of a discount and then go with the 75/50 for a non-city resident or a non-city agency, for example.
Well,
Right? I would go
feel
with
like
that.
We're going to do that. That needs to happen consistently in all the
Yeah.
parks,
Well-
and not something you just do in this park.
Then we should take a look at all that.
Well, I understand that, but the time is of the essence right now. So we need to get through this particular process. And if we want to do that, then we look at, so that legislation change for all the parks. Is that we want to?
Because we have for
I
tennis.
just want to say that, well, you're free to debate the numbers as much as you want, just for the purposes of changing the code, we wouldn't actually have to have the actual numbers for that, and that would give you more time to work it out
To work them out.
as we get closer to actually passing the resolution.
So in terms of adding that piece of it, I don't know that that's something we could just do.
So maybe do it for start 215 or something like that.
I'm sorry?
Start that maybe in 2015 or whatever.
And
For all,
stuff we
for all our
We
facilities.
could, I could
Because
certainly.
we do it in tennis. I know we do it for tennis. There's two different rates for tennis. I know that for a fact.
And then we do it for golf course.
Yeah, so, yes, exactly right. So why should a city resident or a non-city resident get the same price that I'm getting that I pay the taxes for to use that facility? No, we'll keep it up. Just a thought. Sorry.
I don't disagree. I think that if we're going to do it, that we need to talk about all
Sure.
the parts
Yeah.
in terms of that. Ms. Krause, are you clear on the rate part of it
Yes.
now?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
All right, so you're comfortable with the $200, that the pavilion in using the building itself, the kitchen and the bathrooms in the building? Any other thoughts or concerns or questions about?
The only other thing I would add is, and I guess we don't have to do this right now, but is a per hour rate. So if somebody wants, right, if somebody wants it for 5 hours or 6 hours or whatever the case may be, that we add a per hour rate after 4 hours.
Camille, for you, this question is, are you going to, you talked about adding rates for nonprofit organizations. If we, send this when we send this for a public hearing, we have to have that information. So is that something you want to consider or add, or right now this is the rate you're going with?
Why don't we keep it simple to the end of the summer and we can revisit the issue?
I can't speak for the group, unfortunately. But my gut tells me that I believe that, a city nonprofit should get a break,
Sure.
So if that's going to require a change in legislation or...
Well, we have,
I-
what date would the public hearing be? August.
2 weeks from next Monday, 3 weeks from today.
3
Okay.
weeks.
Wow.
So, you have,
Summer's over.
yeah,
Yeah,
summer's almost
so
over,
it's-
but it's going to come to a
It
public
doesn't make
hearing.
any,
So you'd have time to give us that figure that we could put in with the information so it's there.
So you
Fee schedule.
want the nonprofit,
If you're interested in implementing a different rate for nonprofit, yeah, we have to have that.
okay, I will be meeting with everyone Wednesday morning, so if anyone's interested, 10 o'clock up at Steinmetz.
At the park?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be, I'll make sure that that's part of it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Part of the discussion. That's the best that, I can do for right now. Like I said, there are several problematic things, within this, but we just tried to give you a thumbnail.
Sure.
And, like what a general consensus was, and that was it.
Yep.
But I have to caution once again, or stress once again, yes, that time is of the essence, because we can't afford to lose any more. I mean, any more time on this.
Absolutely. Just a quick question. You said that there's several problematic things. Let's iron out what the problems are so we can, whatever they are.
Well, okay, good example. If someone wants to rent the bathhouse or the multi-purpose room, I still think that we should have naming rights for this, so we don't call it the bathhouse, a good moneymaker. If somebody wants to rent the big building for a Saturday morning event, a wedding perhaps, and if they want to come in on Friday and decorate, do we give them that leeway to come in and decorate if it's not being used on that Friday? Or do we charge them for that opportunity?
Subject to availability.
Okay? No, and I mean, it's that kind of thought that I think has to go into all of this.
I think those are things you can work out. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be part of legislation. I think those are things that worked out. And as Ms. Perazzo said, subject to availability. Sometimes you'll have that option, other times they won't. So, yes. Yeah,
I don't think that needs to be part of legislation. That's more of a policy, and I'd be happy to work with the group.
Great.
Because of my events background.
That's true.
If you'd like to work those
Oh,
policies.
absolutely,
give me a call,
yeah.
and I'll
Good.
be happy to work with
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
No, very good.
Okay, move it for a public hearing.
Yeah, and second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right, very good.
All right,
Thank
start the
you.
public hearing. Thanks for coming over, Neil.
Sure, thank you.
All right.
Time is of the essence.
Okay. Okay, the Central Park Pavilion, and I think Chris is going to be here for this. All right, a couple of weeks, our last committee meeting, I asked that this be put on because I heard from people who use the Central Park Pavilion and thought that the cleanliness of it, because of the birds, was causing a problem for having people having events in there. One of the things that they have at Steinmetz, the new Steinmetz Pavilion, is hardware cloth that they put over the eaves and underneath so that the birds don't go in there and do what birds do. So I was interested in knowing if we could do something similar to that in Central Park. I know there's a cost that's involved. We increased the rates not that long ago, so if we're increasing the rates, improving the amenities would be, to me, go hand in hand. So it's really...
I was briefed on this afternoon, and what I was informed of is that the commissioner and Jeremy both really don't want to move forward with such an installation, given the current condition of the roof itself, the decking, the shingles, some of even the joists and girders that feel they're in a state of disrepair. The netting that you're talking about is a substantial netting. It's almost a galvanized netting. They estimated the price just to put up the netting at around $10,000. So at the same time, Jeremy expressed to me an interest to put in a capital request to repair the roof in its entirety, which would be significantly more than the $10,000. And I believe that that's the direction that they would like to move in, is to pull the decking up, repair the joists, repair the shingles themselves, put the new roof on, and then at that time, put all the proper netting. But I haven't looked at it. I mean, I've seen it. I looked right by it. I've seen the condition it's in. I would tend to agree that if they have that in mind, that you put $10,000 into it at this point of the year, given that by the time that it's installed, it would probably be end of August, at the earliest, given the schedule that the carpenters are on. Then you only have a month, maybe 2 months of use before possibly we renovate and replace the roof. However, I'm open to the comments or what you'd like to see, and I can relay that. But I'm not, like I said, an expert at that pavilion roof right at this time.
Mr. Riggi?
So, of course, the roof needs replacement, definitely.
Yes.
So then could an RFP go out for the roof along with the needs sheathing or whatever on the roof, what condition that's in? And then along with the fabric to cover the...
Yeah, we would do it all at once.
So...
And I don't know if it would need to be an RFP. I think, given the fact that we built it, we should have some already plans on it. This isn't going to be an addition, this is just going to be a, replacement. I think that in-house between engineering and the carpenters, we could put out a contract to have it do, to have it put out together. I don't think that, given the size and scale of it, that Carl might want to earmark our forces for it, because that could be a pretty lengthy project. But I don't see it being something where we need an RFP, probably just a bid for construction services. But like I was told, the estimate for something like that, they would look at doing a capital budget request, and it's excess of, $100,000 to $125,000 for that roof, because of the size of that.
Do you know how many square that building is?
How many?
Do you know how many square
No.
it is?
It's pretty big. Madam Chair?
Yes,
They're
Mr.
also not
Booth?
simple. I mean, it has lots of
They had lots of
different peaks and architectural features to it.
Just getting off the pavilion real quick, the pond itself. Any plans for treating that pond by any chance? It's getting...
Duck pond or Iroquois Lake?
Iroquois Lake. It is quite bad right now. I mean, it's to the point where the paddle boats are actually sticking in the moss underneath or whatever, the stuff that's growing up, and it's getting quite ugly. And I know we used to treat it in the past, and from what I understand, there's no funds to do that, or we haven't budgeted it, but I think it's something we really should take a look at, because the park is gorgeous, and that's the first thing you see when you drive in there. I don't want those swan boats turning green that we just purchased, but if we could take a look at that, and David, if you can ask the mayor as well, what that would involve. I know we used to treat it on a regular basis, but Bart Chabot, who actually does our fishing, the hooked on fishing, actually pulled the kids out a few times because it was so bad, the lines were just getting stuck as they threw them in. So if that's something we could take a look at. All right, appreciate it, thank you. Thank you, Madam.
You're welcome. Other questions? So it's clear that we're not going to get it done this season. That was not an expectation. So
I guess one of the things I'd like to go back with, is the council in favor of a capital request of that kind to repair the roof? Is that something that already...
Well, I guess it makes me wonder if there was no request for the putting up the mesh, what would we have done about it? We would just like let it be? I didn't hear about any capital repair until I started having the discussion. So
I don't know what the schedule of the pavilion roof was at the time. I mean, this could have been just something coincidental that Jeremy wanted to replace the roof, and then the netting came up and it just kind of hit at the same time. Well, like I said, I don't think that, given the condition of it, it would be good to put the netting onto that roof at this time.
If I understand correctly, what they're thinking is they're looking at it as a potential capital request as part of the budget process. So I don't think they were looking at doing one immediately. I think the only reason why it came up in context of this is they want to make the point that they're concerned that if you did the netting now, you're doing $10,000 and doing that, and then they're going to have to move it all out of the way to do any repairs for something that they would do next year. So that was their why they wanted to.
Kind of like paving the street and we got to dig up and put a new...
Right, it just happened today, someone
I don't
asked.
think they're looking to do anything immediately.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Just a question on
Yes.
that. I don't think you'd have to remove the netting or anything to re-roof it, would you? I mean, if that fabric was put on the rafters, how would that affect re-roofing it?
That was specifically what Mr. Olson brought up. He said that it would be in the way.
The rafters are rotting out too, I think.
Yeah,
You also have to remember that, if you had a scissor lift, now the scissor lift has netting. I mean, couldn't physically get under it. If they wanted to do some repairs from underneath the roof for
Underneath?
yeah, they were talking about some of the members of the joists, and some of them need to be replaced because of rot. Like I said, I haven't been there. I haven't been in that pavilion in quite some time, but I do know that it is an issue.
Very good.
Well, before we could even decide whether that's what we want to do, we have to know what the cost would be. So,
Okay, so I'll instruct Jeremy to try to get a more solid cost together to kind of look at, have somebody evaluate it, and we can look at it together and see what it needs, and then see how the bird netting will affect it. But like I said,
In the pond.
what we talked about with, it's just like the road. I'm trying to not pave a road if I know there's a project coming. One of the prime examples is Liberty Street right now. We're doing 111 Yates. 111 Liberty is that new apartment building. They said, when are you gonna pave the road? And I said, when you're done putting holes in it, I'll consider paving it, but not while you're doing it. So.
and just since, you could take us back, so since we're going to be considering all that, also what would it cost to kind of not buy new, but kind of upgrade the picnic benches in there, you know. If you're gonna make everything look all shiny and new, they're looking kind of.
Well, there's a lot of, the picnic benches, same thing with the drapes, if that's what we would
Yeah.
call them. I mean, when you go down this road,
Yeah.
it's an investment.
Costly.
You might as well just do a total cost
Why do we want them to do that?
to repair and maintain.
Citywide rates, I'm talking Peggy, I'm not gonna peg it today, but that is not.
Any other questions or discussion on the Central Park Pavilion?
No.
No. All right, thank you, Mr. Wallman, for
Thank you,
participating,
guys.
and
Yeah.
look forward to hearing back from you. Anything else to come before Health and Recreation?
And just something quickly,
Riggi?
a lady sent me an email that she's been to Central Park, she likes the paddle boats and all that, and she would like to, with the city's permission, read to the children one day a week, like either before or after lunch, so. So I would like to know, maybe Mr. Crozier, maybe you could work this in somehow with your program there. There's a lady that would like to read to the young children one day a week, maybe either before or after lunch.
She can actually call her up. We have a program called Page by Page right now. It's run through the Youth Bureau.
Yeah.
Give her my number, I'll give you that. We right now have 35 high school volunteers reading at all the free lunch sites throughout the city of Schenectady. And they're all Schenectady, Niskayuna, and Scotia Glenville high school students that volunteer to read. They're there from 2 hours, from 11:30 to 1:30, every single day, Monday through Friday, at all the lunch sites. The books have all been donated to us. Von Roll gave us a bunch. Remember, we received them at the city council meeting. The public library continues to support their program as well. And so, all hands on deck would certainly, yeah. I'll give you my phone number, work number. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Great program, yep.
I was just gonna say page by page.
Oh, okay.
Page by page.
That's our program, yep.
All right, anything else to come before Health and Recreation?
Motion adjourned.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Welcome.
Call to order public safety, discussion, dangerous dogs, Mr. Riggi.
Yes. I'm sure everyone's aware of that situation that happened on Baker, or on Mead Street in June with that lady that lost her dog. And it has been kind of ongoing, that lady that got mauled a couple of years ago, an ongoing problem. And the idea of this isn't to specifically name, 2138 Campbell Avenue. There's an aggressive dog there. We don't want people going over there and throwing bricks through someone's window or anything like that. But I think it's a good idea, and it's what the owner of this dog actually asked for. If she knew there was a dog that was sighted at this house, she would have taken a different route. So I would think, Mr. Falatico, when a citation is written, is there a database for that so it can be pulled up for an aggressive dog or a dog that attacks?
We keep our own internal database or information, I guess, in terms of what cases we have pending, but in terms of a specific one for dogs, that kind of thing, that's kept by the agencies or something.
There isn't a...
Not for dogs that have been adjudicated as dangerous animals.
Yeah.
I believe the clerk's office in most municipalities keeps something like that.
The idea is that we can get it up on the city website, just with a map, with either in a 2 to 3 block area, just whatever that neighborhood is, there's a dog that has been known to be aggressive that lives at this address, because, I can't think of anything. I was always owned dogs until 10 years ago, and I don't know what to think if you took your dog out for a walk on a leash and you come back. The pictures of that dog was just awful. Think about it. And the lady said if she knew about this, she would have went down Main Street, obviously. So if that's something we could think about, something we could do, something that could be put together, maybe on our website to alert people to this, is that this is a possibility. Because there's something that Tedesco is working on a statewide legislation for us.
Well, council, the mayor's office, thing, so that'd be up to the policy to work out. For Mr. Song's case.
It would depend on exactly what you're looking for, because I guess I discussed with Mr. Palatico earlier today, that there's certainly issues that would have to be clarified, because how would you track when that animal moves? Would you just have that address there forever? The other thing is, what does that do with the property values of the people who live on that street? You're going to basically say, this area has been dog, and they can get this other, so there's other issues that you're gonna create in that. And then also, I believe the incident that you're speaking of, that the dog had an issue with this unit, how would the city be aware of what kind of liability we're creating on ourselves? So there's a few hiccups there that we certainly have to look at.
But this is something we could look at, so see if we can move forward with something like this. Because as far as dogs moving, they move, so maybe it's not gonna be a perfect scenario, but at least someone, if you're a dog owner, you can take a look at the map before you go on and say, no, I'm not gonna go down Campbell Avenue, this porch of Campbell Avenue. I'm gonna take a different route. I realize it's a person's right to go where they want, but at least it could give them a little bit of transparency and knowing that there's a possibility there could be a problem. Problem can happen anytime. I see people go through the parks all the time and let their dogs run loose. When as soon as they get to the park, they take the dog off the leash and let it run. Why, I don't know, but there's definitely, we have irresponsible dog owners, not just in the city, all over. So if it's anything that can prevent, and if it's, I would say it'd be fairly low cost, if any cost to do this. And we're not talking about trying to bring down home values, but I think that's happening anyhow when we have proliferation of dogs that are running around loose, and Mr. Thorne is doing his best to get those at least identified and make sure they're inoculated, but I think it's incumbent on us to provide safety for our residents, the good residents that live here, and the good animal owners that live here. So I'd like to see something like this at least move forward. Maybe we can get a lake up and state.
I received a call from a woman who talked about something similar, and what I explained to her was that right now we are registering animals, so I wasn't really clear how that would go above and beyond that, and I'm still not clear how we do that above and beyond that. And additionally, she wanted us to, just so that folks know what people are asking for, she wanted us to, people dog sit and dog walk, and wanted us to regulate that. And I told her that sounds something that we could, if you were a dog sitter, she wanted us to be able to license you so that you were a competent, reliable, insured dog sitter. So I don't think that's something we could do, and that's what I told her. So I just want you to understand what people are asking about and in relation to what has happened. So there is some major concern, and how do we address it in some way? Because obviously people are concerned it was a horrific situation that happened. I didn't see the pictures, but just reading the article was enough to let me know that it was pretty awful. So we do need to be able to address it in some way and just work through what's the best way to get it done, and so that everybody is, their concerns are addressed.
I think if this could be made as painless, again, we're not looking to identify a specific person or dog or anything like that, but just the general area, if that can be done, the general area where there may be a problem. It's something like having a slow down sign on the street, going down that street and let you know if you're not familiar with the area, dangerous curve ahead, slow down, so that's a person to have those precautions. Just something I think that's important, and it's something that this lady actually asked for, and I think it's something we should look at.
Any other discussion? Next item, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant, please.
Back again, came with this about 6 weeks ago. We were required to post it on our website or obviously publicize it. We got limited feedback on it. The grant, for those that may have not been in here, I don't remember, it's a $55,000 grant that we share with the county. City gets half. By the statute, we're required to post it for 30 days and receive some feedback. We did one feedback from Neighborhood Watch, which actually was very good. So we broke the grant down as follows, and just kind of throwing it out there. Neighborhood Watch will receive $1,000 of the grant. We get just under $28,000 on this grant. They get $1,000. The other things internally, we looked at some things that we need. Our interview room cameras right now are those are the ones that we do in interview rooms, detective divisions. We have six different rooms that are covered with these. All of our interrogations are recorded and presented, for trials and so forth. We wanted to update those. It's not a total replacement, but it is replacing the software and some other, we had the company come in and look at what we actually need the upgrades, and that comes to just under $8,200. And then the third cost that we would really like to fund is we have a part-time crime analyst that helps out a full-time crime analyst, which is grant funded. She was grant funded at one time. Over the years, it kind of dried up, if you would, and we'd like to we're really pumping out a lot of stuff as far as crime intel and use the remainder of the funding for her part-time status. That's all I got.
Go ahead. In regards to neighborhood watch, so how is that money allocated and what do they have to produce? What were they looking to do with the $1,000, did they say?
We've done this before in past with our grants, not this particular grant.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like shirts or flashlights or whatever their equipment needs, and they purchase them through the department, and we inventory them, and then we have to make them available for inspection and audit for a couple of years. We work with the president of Neighborhood Watch and kind of get some feedback on it. It can be simple as hats or shirts or something that's identifiable for the organization. So.
Or like safety equipment?
Safety equipment, like flashlights. Okay. We bought them some radios a while back through some other grant funding, which they have. Just as general, they get new members and they need new type of equipment, if you would.
We talk about the $8,000 software. The software upgrade only?
Yeah, it's a little bit combination. It's hardware as well, software and hardware. Some of the cameras. The system's about 8-9 years old, and with that, it was originally purchased with grant funding through the DA's office and through some other funding we received. I think it was upwards of $50,000 that we spent initially, and this would give us updates and obviously enhancements that we feel we need for sound quality, for recording, for memory, and recording longer periods of time and so forth. We have to download it lots of times now because our capacity is only so big. So as far as the server is concerned, I can get you a detail of what is actually being purchased.
Thanks, sir. The balance of approximately $19,000 going toward salary.
Yes, and she works approximately 20-25 hours a week at a rate. I don't know the rate right in front of me. I believe it's $15 an hour, but just to do the math.
Any other questions?
Sure.
We're good.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, the discussion, public safety. Sorry.
Oh, we do gotta move that, huh?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Wow. Next item, discussion, public safety, grilling on porches. Chief Senecal.
Well, it's that time of the year. It's been that time of the year for us with people with basically open burning and grilling. Some years it's worse than others, but for the people who don't know, we have an ordinance in the city pertaining to open burning. It hasn't changed. I made a copy of it for anybody who would like a copy of it. Basically, I mean, common sense. A lot of people do live on the second floor and they have their grills on the second floor of a combustible material, be it the floor, obviously the roofing material, and it's inconvenient to go up and down the stairs, and then that's where our problems come with obviously the noxious fumes. People believe it's a house fire. It comes in as a house fire. We'll respond as a house fire. It's dangerous to the residents, dangerous to the men. Really pretty much common sense that you don't cook on your porch. Also, a lot of these grills are chained to the porch, so they're not stolen. The rule is 10 feet minimum from any combustible material. If you do have a problem, as grills sometimes do, and it's chained to your porch, obviously you've had a larger problem than we get to call. I'll read this, it's very simple. Any lawful fire outside of any building shall not be kindled within a porch or attached building. as or enclosed with building or structure as to cause fire or smoke damage to such a building or structure. Pretty much covers it. Also, the chief of the fire department or his representatives shall have the authority in all cases to prohibit the use of any fire burning receptacle within or outside of a building. So it's fairly cut and dry. We do have issues with it sometimes, but this year, it's July, we're midway through the year. Yeah, we're doing okay with it.
You got a copy of that?
Yeah, we do. I made a copy for everybody.
Thank you. Give one to my neighbor.
Sure. Well, you know what happens? It happens. I leave these, if somebody wants a copy. The problem with grilling, even when it's done correctly, the phone rings, you go inside, you're on the phone, you're on your phone, you're making something on the stove, and you're cooking outside, unattended, and that's when we get the call. So along with that, with open burning being outside, there is no open burning in the city. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people like to have a fire in their yard in the summertime, but there is no open burning, and the problem there again is the smoke and sometimes the size of the fire. 8-9 foot campfire is obviously not uncommon, but
No s'mores in the city.
right. Call comes in there again for a fire. We'll be 2 blocks away, and we'll say, hey, we got something going on here. There's something burning. We get there, there's a big glow in the yard, and
Go ahead.
So, Chief, if you see someone who's grilling on their porch, should someone call the fire department?
well, if you're passing by, yes, call the fire department, tell them somebody's grilling on the porch. We'll very politely show up and just remind them of the ordinance. We're not looking to be the bad guy. We just don't want to see anybody get hurt. Now, if we come back to it 3 times, it's different. It would be a police arrest. It's a different story. But for the most part, it's just a common reminder. We don't want to see anybody get hurt or have an issue with their house on fire. Yes.
I was just gonna ask the chief to give some clarification on open burning. But you got to it before I asked, so you're good.
It's covered in there also, and every summer, we don't like to be the bad guys, but we very politely show up and just remind them there is an ordinance in the city, and usually it's due to the noxious smoke, the smoldering, even a small fire, even in an enclosed hibachi, if you will, a 1x2 foot hibachi, somebody puts green wood in there or even charcoal, and the next thing you know, the neighbors are calling because they think there's something on fire. But there again, it's a friendly reminder. Most people either don't know or don't realize it. All us will be the bad guys.
So it's pretty much no grill on porch, regardless of size, and doesn't matter.
Well, no, absolutely not. Which brings me into propane. Because most of these grills are propane. No propane stored inside the building. We do see that periodically in basements, and believe it or not, attics. If you don't have a garage, you don't want to leave it outside, unfortunately, and the fire scene, or even, just in the residence for a medical call, you'll see and how many are we not seeing in closets and whatnot? And along with the police line, they do respect the guys with guns and badges a lot more than they do the fire department. They're not afraid of us, but when the badges show up, it's a different story.
I just think it's really important that, it's something we discuss. I mean, we have an older housing stock, and it is the time of year that people are grilling.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Just remind folks.
It's a good time to remind people for their own safety. Everybody else is in a multi-unit dwelling, so it's just maybe not your apartment, if you will, that's affected.
Any other comment? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other businesses for public safety?
I will adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Call to order claims. Before we go into executive session, I think, the discussion on citywide reassessment, I talked to the mayor today, and he couldn't be here today. He'd like to be involved in this discussion, so I'd like to put this off for 2 weeks, discuss this again. The mayor's here, and maybe get somebody from the reassessment department here, so we'll go through this in 2 weeks. courtesy to the mayor because he has some feelings, and we want to get his point of view on this. So. Okay. Should we,
We'll move into executive session.
yeah, we'll go in executive session,
Mr. Chairman.
we'll recess claims and we'll open up the other two.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Well, Mr. Chairman, before, we actually have two items that, number 2 and 3, which would be appropriate for executive session.
Okay.
It's all executive session, right?
No, 2 and 3 are
Oh,
not.
2 and 3 are not? Okay, well, let's discuss those before we go into executive session. Okay. Number 2.
Oh, I see.
Number 2 and 3 are just, these are already claims that have been approved for settlement from claims committee, and there was just some clerical errors. The board, the resolutions were drafted, left out a couple of the years that the claims committee did settle the cases for, but they weren't actually put on the resolution. So this would be amending both the resolution regarding 161 J Street and 844 Hampton Avenue
Right.
to include all the years that the tax rate was settled for.
So that wasn't in the legislation?
No, it was when it was passed out of committee, but then when it was written up, just a couple of the years were left off, or just a mistake, it was being drafted.
Questions? We hit them both, blame it out. 3.
Yeah, it's just,
Both the same?
so it's the same issue for both of them. So for number 2, well, we just, the years 2012 and 2013, there should also have 2009, 10, and 11 as part of it, and it's for the same amount. And then for item number 3, year 2013 is left off.
Accept item number 2. I'll second. All in favor? Yeah.
2 of us. So you're moving it? Yes, I'm moving it.
Yeah, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3.
I move.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
A motion to go in executive session. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, for an executive session.